Holy smack, John Cena won. He got his 17th championship, breaking Ric Flair's record. We got NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, NFL draft coming up this week. Strap in, folks. There's a lot to talk about tonight. My name is Scott.
My name is Deeb.
We're the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. Welcome back to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast.
Watching college football, have a couple beers, a couple bourbons.
Nah, he's the GOAT. There's no debating that.
Will not be nearly as good as the hype. Episode 20. What is up, my people and friends? Welcome back to the Single Barrel Sports Podcast. My name is Deeb, and this is Scott, and we are back for another jam-packed episode. We got some fun stuff we're going to talk about today. But first, Scott, we got to catch up and see how things are going. So what's going on, man? I know we had a couple busy weekends, you and I with some family, but how are things going?
Yeah, listen, all good. I will admit I am tired. We have had a lot going on. We got a full slate tonight, but always nice to kind of check up and kind of see how you're doing before we start here. So yeah, we had family in town this weekend. It was my son's first birthday. Obviously, there was also Easter this weekend, and we talked about last week. WrestleMania was this weekend, and so very busy. Horrible allergies in North Carolina right now. There's like this yellow like pollen that falls every day, and so we were outside like all weekend long, and I was just fighting for my life, trying to survive. But it was really great. Parker is doing awesome. It's crazy to see his growth, and it was really cool to spend some time with family and to celebrate him. So yeah, no complaints here. But I will admit, I've barely watched any sports this last week. I feel like I'm a little bit out of sorts where I normally would be for an episode like this. What about you, man?
Well, happy birthday to Parker. I know that was super exciting for you guys. Hopefully he can dunk on you soon, with a little bit of basketball going on there in your household now. But sounds like you guys had a good time, and I saw a couple pictures and stuff from the weekend. I know you sent me some pictures of some of the bourbon that you indulged in, and that looked like quite the lineup. So I thought that was a good lineup there that you had going on.
Yeah, there was no shortage.
Yeah, I know. I was like, ooh, where'd you get all this from? No, I'm doing pretty good, man. Similar, a little bit on the tired side again. Similar, I think. Just having family and stuff over was great. We had a really good weekend. My in-laws came into town, and so we got to spend some time with them. I went over to the lake, did a little hike, even though it was like 50 degrees. But, for here in Michigan, for those of you out there that live in colder temps, that's like get out your shorts weather. So that was fun. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, wasn't able to really watch a ton of sports over the weekend, which is okay. Obviously you got to spend time with family and stuff. So I'm looking forward to discussing, though, these different things that we're going to talk about tonight. I think, we're really going to show people that we have the depth, as always, like we talk about with various things that we talk about. And I know we had a WrestleMania special last week, which was really cool, and I learned a ton from, and we're going to do a recap on that. But yeah, other than that, nothing too crazy, man.
Hell yeah. Well, I have to ask because I saw there was an Easter egg hunt of sorts going on over there, and I think I saw that your dog Weller participated in that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so my brother-in-law, they came over, and his girlfriend has a daughter, and so she wanted to do a Easter egg hunt for Weller. So I thought that was super sweet. So we hid some treats and stuff in the eggs and all around the yard, and he kind of went around. So that was our Easter egg hunt for the weekend.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. We actually did one too, and I was surprised how well a 1-year-old can do an Easter egg hunt. He's pretty observant. So yeah, just it's the little things, man. Didn't get to watch any basketball, but I got to do an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, it only happens once a year, so you got to celebrate it.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Cool. Well, like you said, I mean, we've had some feature episodes lately, done big episodes on the Masters and on WrestleMania, and we're going to kind of get back to the roots a little bit today and do more of a diverse sports coverage episode here. So Like we said at the top, we got a bunch of sports we're going to cover, and we will do our best to serve justice for each of those sports. But if there's something that hits more than others that you want us to dive more into, maybe in separate videos or social media posts, always reach out to us. We love to kind of dive deeper in things that people care about.
Yeah. Before we get into the sports, we like to just kind of let people know who are either new or visiting us for the first time, a little bit about us. So, if you're out there, Single Barrel Sports Podcast, for those of you returning, thank you for returning. If you haven't hit the subscribe or follow button, please consider that. We do have a goal right now on YouTube for 200 subscribers. I think we're at like 132 last I checked. So, really helps us to grow, helps us to be able to, make some upgrades and also just, I think, reach more people and have some more fun. So that's super appreciated. And Scott, we have one single website where that people can find everything they need. And what is that website?
Yeah, it's just simple spelling out our podcast name. It's the singlebarrelsports.com. And that's going to have access to all of our social media platforms. So whichever social media you use, we likely will have a platform there, and you can find our direct links through our full website, singlebarrelsports.com. We do have full episodes on YouTube or Spotify. So wherever you're watching this, we also have it on the other. And we've got short form content on all of our social media, as well as some different discussions or polls or things like that as well.
Hell yeah. Well, let's get into some sports. What do you say?
Let's get it, man. I'm excited for this one because I think I have a term of the week that maybe you have not heard of before. That's
Well,
this time of year. So we'll just dive right in here. The term of the week this week is 5-hole, which might sound weird if you don't watch hockey. It's a term that comes from hockey, but what do you think it sounds like just off the top of your head, dude?
Well, the first thing that came to mind was golf, but I know you said hockey, so can't be that. I don't know. Is it like have something to do with like a video game or something? I mean, obviously it's hockey, but those were the first things I thought of when I heard the term before you said hockey.
Yeah, well, listen, the first time I ever heard the term, you hear it in announcers all the time. You hear them announcing, saying, tried to go 5-hole or he went 5-hole. They don't ever explain what that means. You got to pick these things up with context, which is why we have Sports Term of the Week as a segment that we run every episode now. A 5-hole, which I'll get to why it was named like this in a minute, but it's basically the space between the goalie's legs. So it's where you try and sneak the puck between their legs to score a goal as a goal scorer. If you think about trying to score goals in hockey, there's all these big pads. The goals aren't very huge. Oftentimes you're trying to shoot the puck to various parts of the net. So the goalies are always trying to react to a shot. And the 5-hole is kind of where you gently nudge it or kind of tuck it between their legs and try and just get it to shoot out the other side into the net. I had to research myself why it was named that way because I had never heard this before. And it sounds like historically in goalie language or goalie lingo that there's actually 5 zones of scoring. So if someone's shooting like high on the glove side, they call it the 1 zone. Glove side low is 2. Blocker side high is 3. Blocker side low is 4. And this is where the 5-hole comes in. 5 is the hole between the legs. So that's how they named it the 5-hole. Is because of just kind of like if you made a chart of where to aim the puck, that was number 5. Because I was always like, why 5? Like 6-hole might make sense because it's like at the bottom of their body if you're thinking like a clock, but no. It kind of goes back to historical sense of kind of numbering the different zones for goal shooting.
Yeah, I'd never heard of that before. So honestly, I learned something, and hopefully people out there also learn something if they're not familiar.
Yeah, and one of the interesting things about the 5-hole is it's something that people chant or yell. That's why I said you'll hear announcers say it. It's an exciting thing when someone tries it because it's almost like trying to catch them lacking, right? You're trying to catch them like not paying attention. And so it's almost like an embarrassing thing for a goalie when it happens to them. Yeah. And so if someone tries to go 5-hole, you'll always hear the announcer be like, oh, he tried to win 5-hole or he went 5-hole. It's like a thing where they're like, oh, he tried to outsmart the goalie. It's basically like they saw the goalie not keeping their legs close together when they go down and they tried to make them pay for it. So it's like a way the offense could try and catch the goalie, like, not being technically sound, if you will.
So interestingly, the other one that kind of comes to mind, or the other one that comes to mind to me is in soccer. I wonder if there's like a special term for if you kick it between the goal, the goal tender's legs in soccer. Is there like a name for that? That's kind of, I don't know. For some reason, it made me think of that too.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's certainly something we could review for future episodes.
Yeah, I also feel like that'd be really hard to do in soccer, but I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe like on the penalty kick, if you just kick it directly where the goalie starts, because they often like try and project like which way to dive.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a term for that too.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, that's 5-hole for anyone who had never heard of it. Hopefully that helps. It's
Yeah.
something you will hear if you watch hockey. So now you know.
Hell yeah. Well, we also have what we call the weekly recap next, which, generally speaking, we just try to give a recap of things that have happened in sports. It's usually from the weekend or, like a couple days or whatever after this episode, that before the episode was released, etc. So the first one, that was the big episode that we did last week, was a special on WrestleMania. So you want to walk us through some of the happenings that occurred this past weekend?
Yeah, and I'm going to try and be brief here. There's all kinds of content out there if you want to look deeper into it. But the big match of the weekend, main event of night 2, everyone was looking forward to John Cena, seeing if he would make history against the big babyface Cody Rhodes. And he did. John Cena, heel Cena, did beat Cody Rhodes and won the title for the 17th time, which broke a record. But it was not a well-received match. It was kind of gimmicky. They had Travis Scott come out and interfere with the match. He pulled the referee out of the ring at one point and got himself involved. And
I saw the Travis Scott clip of him coming out, but I didn't really understand what he was doing.
yeah, so he was helping John Cena win. Apparently, they're on the same side in this storyline. But John Cena didn't even win by using his. I mean, he used his finisher throughout the match, but he didn't win with using his finisher. He won by he kicked Cody Rhodes in the gonads, and then he hit him in the face with the title belt, and then pinned him. And people were kind of like, "That's not really wrestling." It was just like an anticlimactic finish. But I think that's the character John is trying to portray right now. He keeps saying he's trying to ruin wrestling. And so he put on a bad match. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was on purpose.
Interesting.
Yeah, lots of heat on that. Not a lot of people were happy about the outcome of that one. But night one's main event was the exact opposite. It was an amazing match, a triple threat match. Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, 3 of the biggest names in the whole business. And it had lots of twists and turns, but it actually ended with Seth Rollins winning because Paul Heyman, who was close with both Roman and CM Punk, actually turned on both of them and then helped Seth beat them. So big
wow.
storyline there that's going to carry forward, I think, into this next year now.
Which is it's unique though, because like Roman Reigns, I know, obviously he's not the champion, but he doesn't lose that often, right?
No, this is new for him. He was the champion for 3 years, and he never got pinned, and now he's starting to lose matches, and I'm sure that's an interesting thing for someone who, even with this all being scripted, is used to always being the man to have to take a couple of L's now.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, other just notables here. We had a triple threat match for women's title, the Women's World Championship. Io Sky came in with the belt. No one that I'm aware of really expected her to win. She was going up against 2 juggernauts and Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, but she did win. So she retained her title, which was a little bit of a shock to me.
No.
There's a tag team match that really made no sense at all, but Becky Lynch actually returned. She's a big name in the industry, so this was a big return for her. We talked about this last week, how big stuff happens at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And so she returned and they won the match. They won the tag team titles. And then again, we'll talk about this in a minute, but storyline carried into the Raw after WrestleMania. We had Dominic Mysterio turned on his buddy Finn, which I had actually predicted last week, and he won the Intercontinental title. So that was a big moment for him. His first WWE championship. He has had a singles title in NXT, but not on the WWE main roster.
And he's Rey Mysterio's actual son, right?
He is, and I think the big thing with this one is that he's been a very strong heel for years now. People hate him, and they started to cheer for him during this match, during and after. The fans were cheering for him.
Wow.
So now people are like, well, is he going to turn to be a babyface now, or is he going to stay a heel?
Interesting.
So yeah, more to come there. Your boy Jey Uso ended up beating Gunther and winning the championship, his first time being a world heavyweight champion.
Let's go.
He actually used Gunther's own sleeper hold against him and made Gunther tap out, which pissed off a lot of people because it makes him look weak, even though Gunther's been the man in this company for a long time. Logan Paul won again, so he just continues to win big matches. Big thing that was noticed this weekend, though, was The Rock was really big in building some storylines for this event, and he made no appearance, didn't show up at all, wasn't mentioned, just like he wasn't there at all. So that's another thing fans are kind of revolting about right now. There's a lot of hate towards The Rock on social media about how he kind of comes in when he wants to, but doesn't finish out storylines. Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, there's no denying when The Rock is around that the ratings go up and the storylines get more interesting, but it's a shame when he's not there on the biggest stage of them all.
Did you look into any reasons why, or
He was just
He's
at
wa-
home in Hawaii. Yeah, I don't know. He just was at home hanging out. You know, I'm thinking that he was just wanting John Cena to kind of have that moment without him potentially overshadowing it.
Yeah.
But who knows? It's very hard to say.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah.
But we did see a lot of records this weekend. We talked a lot about how the growth of WrestleMania has been over time. Over 124,000 attendees across the 2 nights, a 114% increase in viewership from the year before. So they definitely are still booming. They're growing. And I will save this for last, but the Raw after WrestleMania, which just happened last night, we talked about how that is a big kickstart into the new season.
Yeah.
And it delivered. I thought the Raw after Mania was probably better than either individual night of WrestleMania themselves. So
Oh,
some really cool stuff, lots of twists, couple returns, some backstabbing, some new teams forming. I was like, damn, this is a really cool episode. So very excited for what's coming next with the storylines after seeing them really, I think, take some risks and really shake some stuff up on Raw after Mania. So that's the recap of WWE.
I have one quick question. I don't know if this happened or anything happened last night, but I happened to follow Goldberg on Instagram or something like that, and I saw him post. It was like his last return was in like 2016, and he posted a video from it, and he said, "Time to make this happen again." Like, was there anything about that, or is that like just a teaser for maybe who knows if he's going to make a return?
I haven't heard of anything happening with Goldberg this weekend, but there have been some Goldberg references over the last couple of months. At one point, Gunther disrespectfully was telling another Hall of Famer that his favorite wrestler of all time was Bill Goldberg because that's like a gimmick. Like a lot of people think he's way overhyped. And then Bill Goldberg was actually at like an event after that, and he was just like, "Oh, you're not actually like my favorite wrestler. I was just trying to piss him off." Like he was just like belittling Goldberg then to his face. So it's kind of setting up almost like Goldberg might return to try and have a match with Gunther. And now that he doesn't have a championship, that makes it a little bit more viable. So maybe that's why he's posting that stuff, but who knows?
Okay. Yeah. I was gonna say I just randomly saw that and I was like, huh, I wonder if that anything happened. Like I didn't look into it, but I just saw randomly when I was like scrolling and I was like, oh, interesting. The only other question I have is um compared to previous WrestleManias, like from your perspective, do you think this one was better or where do you think this like ranked generally from
That's a
the
good
ones you've
question.
seen like recently?
It's a good question, and actually something I intended to say. But my take on this is this WrestleMania was a little bit of a letdown compared to recent ones.
Mm.
39 and 40 were amazing. There were big storylines involving Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline. There were big storylines that had been built up for like years. And it's really hard to compare with that when you don't have that same thing happening. So we talked about this last week. The buildup didn't feel quite as good for this one. And I think because of that, the delivery wasn't quite there either. Although there were redeemable moments, overall, it didn't feel quite as exciting as the last couple of WrestleManias to me personally.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's fair. I guess if anyone out there who did watch or is a fan, what are your thoughts? Do you think this WrestleMania was better than a couple years past, or do you think that this one was kind of a letdown, like what Scott said?
Yeah, and one thing I will say, I just want to add this is I think this year's Raw after Mania was better than any I've ever seen personally. So anything they did wrong at WrestleMania, I think they've immediately redeemed it as of one night later.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's part of their plan, or they wanted to make it that way. Who knows?
Yeah, and on Raw after Mania, Randy Orton came out of nowhere and RKO'd John Cena. That was a big moment.
Wow. Oh, the one thing I didn't hear you mention was what happened with Pat McAfee. I thought I saw he got like sleepered or something.
Yep.
Like he like fell asleep.
Yep. So Gunther was on Raw after Mania. Gunther was yelling at Michael Cole because of the way he announced the match. He was saying that he was disrespectful towards him, and he tried to like choke out Michael Cole. So Pat McAfee punched him in the face, and then he choked out Pat McAfee, and then they took him to the doctor in the back, and that was the last you heard about it. So
Oh, so that wasn't at WrestleMania then.
no, that was on the Raw, yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if maybe they're going to write Pat McAfee off for a while if he's got some other stuff going on, or if they're
Yeah.
going to build some sort of storyline between him and Gunther. Like I have no idea because he's had matches before, so not really sure what's going on with that, but curious for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. I think I saw a clip of that too, and I was like, I don't know if that's from WrestleMania or not. But
Dude, it was so funny because all of McAfee's guys from his ESPN show were there, and they all hopped the wall and tried to like get involved, and the security was separating everybody.
wow. No, they know how to make it dramatic.
Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, that was WrestleMania and a little bit of after WrestleMania. But the other thing that's really going on right now that's major is NBA playoffs. So we wanted to show real quick. We're going to run through kind of what has happened, but wanted to show this nice image posted by the NBA. This is as of April 21st, so it's outdated by now, but just to kind of give an idea of what it looks like. I think tonight, though, we do have a couple games going on as of this recording, which is Tuesday. So there will obviously be some updates when those games are over. But this is what it's looking like for the matchups right now. So just to kind of give a visual idea of what that looks like. But I think we're going to just plan on running through kind of what has happened so far. So I can do, let's start with the Western Conference. So we have the Thunder, who's ranked number 1, versus the Grizzlies, number 8. As of right now, the Thunder are winning. It's only one game has been played, so Thunder are up 1-0. They actually destroyed Memphis in the first game. It was 131-80. And obviously, the Thunder are really good, but I know you had kind of made a comment about this, that maybe you had watched a little bit of this and then turned it off because it was such a blowout. But did you have
Yeah.
on that one?
Yeah, I was just watching this game and watching one team manhandle the other, and then I did turn it off because there was just other things happening in my house. But there was a tweet that I saw which I thought was really relevant, and it said basically, in a playoff series, if one team beats the other team by 50 points or more in the first game, they should cancel the series and just have that one team win. And it's hard to argue with that. And just as an aside, I just pulled out my phone, and the Thunder won again tonight, so they're now up 2-0 in this series. That
Gotcha.
just ended here as we're recording.
Okay. Yeah, I know that was one of the games. I think we had Bucks, Pacers, and Timberwolves, Lakers were also tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So next game was Rockets, who are 2, versus Warriors, who are 7. The Warriors actually upset them, quote unquote, 95-85 on the road. And we kind of saw a little bit of vintage Steph Curry in this one. I know that they have had some, changes to their team and trades and all this stuff, but it'll be interesting to see if the Rockets bounce back or not, because I know they're also really good. Like the
Mm-hmm.
Thunder and the Rockets, I think they really stick out in the Western Conference right now. So
Absolutely.
we also had Lakers number 3 versus Timberwolves, which I didn't look this up. Is this the 10 o'clock game? I think maybe.
Yeah, they're just getting started.
Okay. So
Lakers are up right now, but it's the first quarter.
okay. Yeah. So the Timberwolves did win the first game in a quote unquote upset. So it was 117-95. They hit a lot of 3-pointers. They were kind of on fire they had a dude, Naz Reid, score 23 off the bench, which is when you have a bench player scoring that much, that's kind of bad news for the other team.
Yeah, that's big.
Other game, or the last game, Western Conference, we had Nuggets versus Clippers. Series tied 1-1, so they played 2 games. Game 1, the Nuggets won very close in overtime, 112-110, and then game 2, the Clippers won 105-102. So this one has actually been really close. I know Kawhi Leonard has been kind of playing freakishly too, so kind of interested to see who wins this one, because it seems like it is a pretty close matchup right now.
I was just thinking of Kawhi Leonard's laugh. That clip will never get old.
Yeah, he's just the super awkward clip of him laughing. Yeah, no. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. Also, kind of a random note, but I feel like he was really good for a few years, and then he kind of like disappeared a little bit. Like I never heard his name as much after. I don't know if it's just aging or he just hasn't been as relevant, but I don't know. It kind of like almost faded into the background a bit from just my, not following the NBA too much, but I don't really hear his name or see him like online as often as some of the other players.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's kind of shocking actually that you don't see him more. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen him in headlines like hardly at all over the last 5 years or so.
And I think we had a community question. Did you want to ask that for people for the Western Conference playoff?
Yeah, we know we're just interested. There's obviously a lot of great teams in the playoffs in the NBA here. So who do you think will be playing in the Western Conference Finals? And then maybe why do you think so? And Deeb, go ahead if you want to answer that question.
Ooh, It might be too early to say. I think what I'll do is I'll kind of throw a little teaser in here because we actually are going to be picking. We're going to be giving you our picks for the first round of NBA playoffs and the single barrel picks towards the end of the episode. So if you're interested in that, you can always fast forward. But I don't know. I feel like it's a little too soon, and maybe we can think about that next week for me to answer it so far.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
I can throw out a way too early prediction, but this could change in a week.
yeah.
And one of them is just the personal bias. I'm a big LeBron guy, as you know, so I'm going to say the Thunder and the Lakers is going to be my teams, but there are a lot of teams that it could be, I think.
Yeah. No, I could see that happening. Eastern Conference, we had Cavs versus Heat, 1-8. Cavs are up 1-0. They won the first game kind of in a, I think, statement fashion, 121-100. Donovan Mitchell has been also playing out of his mind, and I know Cleveland's offense is just really good, so I'll be shocked if the Heat hang in there in this one. I think the Cavs have shown a lot this year. They continue to show in the playoffs so far through one game. Next game, we have Celtics versus Magic. So 2-7. Celtics are winning 1-0. 103-86 was the first game. And Boston on the other end is a very good defensive team. So their defense is also holding tight so far with this matchup. Knicks versus Pistons. This is the one that's a little closer to my heart because I also, for any of those that listen out there, Pistons have not been to the playoffs in a long time, and the last time they were there, they were really good and also won some championships. So it's cool to see them back and kind of a classic matchup with the Knicks. But they are tied right now 1-1, so they did come back, but Pistons bounced back last night. And so the Knicks won the first game 123-112. Pistons won 100-94. And man, Cade Cunningham he's really good. He's been playing exceptional. I know he was hurt for a little while, or he was out for a few games at the end of the year, but they ended their 15-game playoff losing streak, the Pistons did. So that's kind of exciting to see.
Wow. That's a crazy stat. I didn't know about that.
Yeah. I think the last time, I thought I saw a post on X that the literal last time that they had won a playoff game was when they had like Chauncey Billups and Rip Hamilton and all that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been a while. Let's put it that way. And then the last matchup was Pacers versus Bucks, and the Pacers right now we're up 1-0. They won 117-98. And yeah, I think those are actually two very fairly matched teams, and that's why they're ranked 4 and 5. So kind of be interesting to see who ends up with that one.
Yeah, and I can just add to that. That one is another one that just finished. So the Pacers won again tonight. So they're up 2-0 now, which
interesting.
It's hard to come back from. This was a closer game. They only won by 8 this time.
Okay, gotcha. And then we had one more question, I think, for the Eastern Conference, right?
Yeah, it was same question. Who do you think will be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals and why?
Do you have any predictions on this one?
I'll throw another way too early prediction out there, and this will be controversial, but I am going to go with the Pacers versus the Celtics, actually. I'm thinking the Cavs could get upset at some point in the first couple of rounds. Probably not against the Heat, but maybe the Pacers could knock them out.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, and then next we wanted to do NHL playoffs, so I'll let you take this one, but I think first we wanted to show the bracket first.
Yeah. Yep, we got a good bracket for that one as well. If you want to pop that up, and we'll run through those games just like we just did here. So
is what it looks like.
Yeah, wide open right now, as you can see. Lots of teams in the NHL playoffs, and we'll just dive right in and start talking about the series just like we just did. So,
can I ask you one quick question?
Yes.
So I think I know the answer to some of these, but what are these little letters? Is that just wild card? Like the little like what are the is that just their rankings?
I don't know what the A and M is, to be honest with you. I know that like the M teams I think are the best teams. Oh, you know what it is? That's the division: Atlantic, Metropolitan, Central, and Western Conference.
Okay, I get.
Yeah, I was like, man. Yeah, so like for example, like the Metropolitan is the bottom right one, where the Capitals are the top seed in that division.
Gotcha.
And so it still is based upon conference, but it'll seed the division winners. 3 people from each division make the playoffs, and then 2 wild cards.
Okay, gotcha. I was just wondering that because I've never looked at the bracket, and I was like, wild card WC makes sense, but the others I'm not familiar with.
Yep. Yep. So anytime you have a wild card 2 team, they're going to be playing against the top team for whoever had the better division for that year. So, for example, the Capitals are playing against the Canadians. The Capitals are the top team in the Metropolitan,
Hmm.
and the Canadians are the second wild card team. We talked a lot about the Capitals because of the chase for the goal scoring record with Alex Ovechkin,
Yeah.
but the team is phenomenal as well. And so they did win the first game in overtime, which was pretty crazy because it was actually Ovechkin's first playoff overtime goal in his whole career. So he hit the game winning goal in overtime. And in 20 seasons in the league, it was the first time he hit a overtime goal in the playoffs, just to kind of add to his legacy after he just broke that record just a couple of weeks ago.
That's wild.
Kind of hard to think about with somebody that's that seasoned and that good, but
Yeah.
yeah, we got the Maple Leafs playing against the Senators, and the Maple Leafs are winning 1-0. They had a 6-2 win, so they won pretty big in their first game. The hometown for me now, living in North Carolina, the Hurricanes play against the Devils. They played an afternoon game on Sunday, which they handled it pretty well again. They won 4-1 against the Devils. The big thing there, I think, is just that these are teams that were number 2 and 3 in the same division, so relatively competitive, and they know each other well.
Yeah.
But the Hurricanes came out on top and took game 1 here. And I will admit, I did check the current night's games for NBA, but I had not done that yet for NHL. But I just did, and the Hurricanes won again tonight. So now they're up 2-0 in that series.
Oh, wow.
There are no other games yet that have finished tonight, or I would report that. But
There's others playing, though?
yeah, there's 4 games tonight. That's the only one that's finished so far as of 10:28 on Tuesday night. So a lot of late games.
Wow, yeah, I was going to say.
One of them is just about to go to overtime, which is the Maple Leafs and the Senators. So that one should be over, but they're going to go to OT. Our next game here, we have the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. These are 2 really big teams, and actually their game 1 is today. So they haven't had – it's kind of weird how hockey works because they have their first game tonight, but Carolina Hurricanes had their second game tonight already.
Yeah, interesting.
But in that game, it's in the second period, but the Panthers are winning 5-2. So they're out pretty big right now against the Lightning.
So 2 Florida teams playing against each other?
Yep, and it's kind of weird, and this is something Raven and I talk about a lot, but Florida has some damn good hockey teams. You wouldn't think it because of how warm the climate is there, but in the world of professional sports, it doesn't matter really what city you're in. They have some really good hockey teams.
Huh.
So that is our Eastern Conference games. Those are the 4 series that are going on right now. In the Western Conference, where my heart belongs, it's also breaking right now. The Jets, the best team in all of hockey this year, are playing against the wild card 2 team, my Blues. My St. Louis Blues are down 2-0 in the series. Both games were close. Both games were 1-goal games until in the first game there was a pulled goalie where they scored and won by 2. But if they didn't pull their goalie, they would have only beat us by 1 goal both games. And shout out to the Winnipeg Jets, Kyle Connor. He scored the game-winning goal in both of these games. He's been on fire, a great player for them. So shout out to him for putting the dagger in, as we talked about a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
For both of these playoff games. Other Western Conference games, Dallas Stars versus Colorado Avalanche. We got a tied series, 1-1, 1 game apiece. It's kind of crazy. I mean, the Avalanche won game 1 5-1, but then they went to overtime and lost in game 2. So I always find it interesting when there's something that's that big of a beatdown and then followed up by a super close game. But that's why these teams are in the playoffs, I suppose.
Yep.
Moving forward here, we have the Kings and the Oilers. The Kings were up 1-0 in that series. They actually had a really high-scoring game. They scored 6. The Oilers scored 5. And so a very high-scoring game with the Kings coming out on top. And then our last game of the Western Conference, last series, Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota was one of those teams on the bubble that almost didn't make the playoffs, just like the Blues, but they did make it in, and they lost their first game 4-2. So the Golden Knights, Vegas is leading that series. So a lot more to come in that. Many of these series have only had 1 game or are playing their second game tonight, similar to the basketball. So we'll certainly be following these for the next several weeks here. And it's an exciting time to be a sports fan. I love when there's playoff basketball and hockey. There's always something that you can watch at any time of any evening. So just encourage you guys to check it out. If you've never watched playoff hockey, it is so much better than regular season hockey. They play like their lives are literally at stake, and it's just such a high energy and just high adrenaline experience. So I'm a big hockey guy. I love this time of year.
So I'm not as familiar with hockey playoffs. So how many games do they play in the first round? Like how many is it out of?
That's a good question, and it's something I need to go back and review. I think the first round is a 5-game series,
Okay.
but now I'm not so sure. I'm gonna
Yeah,
just look it up.
the reason
Yeah.
I ask is because, like, NBA, for example, they used to have 5 game first round, and then at whatever point, like, I'm trying to remember, it
Yep.
was probably in the 2000s, they changed over to the 7 game for so all of them are 7 games. I
So
think some of it was because of money. I don't know, like, you get more potentially, more games, more money, but
and the same thing happened with hockey, actually. I just confirmed it. I remember earlier in my life that the first round was shorter in hockey too, but they're all 7-game series now, so best
so
of
it
7.
used to be 5?
Yes, at least the first round did.
Yeah,
And I think baseball was the same. I think all these sports kinda had an abbreviated first round, but
yeah,
nowadays they're all kind of more lengthy.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's a 7-game series now. First to get to 4 wins. So, the Blues are down 2-0, 86% chance that they're gonna lose the series based upon a stat that I saw. 86% of the time a team wins the first 2, they win the series.
Hmm.
But who knows? Maybe we can pull it out.
So that's actually a question, though, that I wanna pose to people. Do you think that playoffs should be 7 games or 7 matches the first round, or do you think the 5 games is actually, better for all sports, not just, hockey? Kinda curious what people's thoughts are because it seems like they maybe made the switch because of money, but I don't know. I'm not sure if there was more to it than that, but curious to hear if anybody has thoughts on that.
Yeah, and I can just quickly give my thoughts on that. I think that it represents a more well I don't know what the word is here. It represents probably who should win better by just playing more games. Like if you have a higher N, then you probably have a better statistical average of how good these two teams are. It also mimics the format of later series, so you kind of get
Yeah.
into that rhythm of playing that many games. But I'm 100% sure money was a part of that as well.
Do you think that more upsets would happen though if there was only 5 games? Like, let's say you're the underdog and pull out. Suddenly you're on, the 2-0 lead, like, you have much more of a chance of upsetting possibly?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Without a doubt. I think in any sport, the fewer games you play, the more likely of an upset.
yeah,
I think everything will always regress back towards the mean or what should be. And
yeah,
so if the team is actually better than the other, the more games you play, the better likely they'll be upset, or the more likely they won't be upset if you play more games.
yeah. I'm just wondering if that would make anything more exciting, if there was more upsets. I don't know, who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at NFL playoff football. I mean, that's how they play. They just one and done. So,
Yeah. Yep,
and
yep,
there are upsets. So, yeah, I think you're right.
yeah. Well, that's all we have for the weekly recap, so we're gonna move into the halftime pour, which, if you haven't seen us before or if you're returning, this is just a fun segment where, we have Single Barrel Sports as our name, so there's obviously a bourbon twist to all of this, and so, part of this is we like to share bourbon with you. So we're gonna show you what we're sipping on tonight and tell you about what it is. Tell you why we chose it. Take a cheer, and we'll all take a cheers, and we will also answer a question of the night. So Scott, you want to share what you're sipping on tonight?
Yeah, I sure can. So I finally bit the bug. I finally bought one of these bottles. This has been huge lately. Penelope bourbon. I've been seeing it everywhere, hearing about it everywhere. Sorry for the
Yes.
glare here, but I actually got the barrel strength version of it. My local store had really like 6 or 7 different types of Penelope bourbon,
Nice.
and I just tend to always like the high heat and the high proof. I feel like you can sip it slower and have a lot more flavor. And so I went for the big one here. This one it's 114 proof. So for people who don't drink bourbon, it's 57% alcohol. It's a big boy, but it is super tasty and very happy to be sipping this tonight.
What do you think of it? As
Oh, I
kind of
think
maybe
it's
is that your first one that you've bought
it's
for
my
that?
first Penelope bourbon I've ever had, and it's very good. I would definitely recommend this. I want to say I bought it for around $60, maybe 65.
Yeah.
So as far as barrel proof bourbons go, the price point was kind of normal, maybe a little bit higher than some, but certainly lower than others.
Yeah. And, I think the one that I bought, it was like Penelope Weeded, which is like the yellow, there's like yellow, whatever
Mhm.
label to it. That one's also really good, and I highly recommend that one. I think it was like $40 maybe. So very, reasonable for what you get. I'm
Yeah,
skipping. Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead. Well, I
No,
was
no,
just
go.
going on the Penelope discussion. I was talking to my neighbor who's also big into bourbon, and he said the Architect is another one that's very good. So I might buy that one next, just on a recommendation of someone who drinks a lot of bourbon like we do.
Yeah, and I've also heard the Rio's good. I think it's more of
Mm.
that. There's like a very unique flavor to it if you can find that. So I've
Yeah,
heard.
they had actually had both of those at my liquor store.
Oh, there you go. Maybe you have another option for your next bottle.
Perfect.
So I have one that's returning. It is one of my favorites, and I know Scott, this is one of your favorite. Is the Old Forester Single Barrel. It is the 100 proof bottle, so it is 50% alcohol. This one is a pick. That's why I think it's really special and dear to my heart, and why I picked it for tonight. It is from our favorite spot down in Kentucky that we like to go to for drinks and dinner. And they had a bottle, which my cousin Tony, you got to give him a shout out if he's listening, actually got this bottle for me. So I picked it because it's super smooth. I know, Scott, you and I have killed almost probably half or more of a bottle of this when we went camping up north and
Oh yeah,
killed some cigars. It's a very good bourbon to smoke a cigar with if you're into that.
it truly is one of the best for cigars. Absolutely recommend that to people who do both.
Very, very smooth. All right, we got a question of the night. What is that?
Yeah, in true form, this episode drops Thursday, which is the first day of the NFL draft, right? So
Yep.
I want you guys to just put yourselves in a situation here. It is draft night, and your favorite team has the first overall pick. What is that moment like, and what bourbon are you sipping for that occasion? And Deep, go ahead. I'll let you take it first.
Well, the moment for me is somewhat interesting because, if you're a Lions fan, they sometimes have not had the best picks in the past, but they've done a little bit better more recently. So I think for me, it's honestly a good night more recently, if they have the first pick, especially because I feel like I can trust them a little more now. And the bourbon I'd probably be sipping on would be, I'm gonna say, I think I'm gonna do like a Blanton's. I
Mm.
think it's kind of one of those ones where you pull it out for a special occasion, and it's a super smooth sip. So I think it goes well with having the first pick.
Hell yeah. I'm going to give you probably the most cynical answer that I've ever given on this podcast. What is this moment like if my team is the first overall pick? If I'm a Tennessee Titans fan right now, um, bittersweet. It means that you're the worst team in the whole league, and you get to draft the first player that hopefully will turn that shit around. But that's a gamble every time, right? It doesn't pan out every time. And so for me personally, again, cynical, I'm probably going to be drinking Penelope Barrel Strength because that's just what I have in my cup already. And I'm treating this like any other night because I don't know if it's good or bad.
That's fair. Well, yeah, I mean, you're right, though. It's like boom or bust, right? With the first pick, especially.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think the Bears have things to look forward to in the future, potentially with Caleb Williams. But imagine how excited they were last offseason, and then look at how this season went. And that's what I'm talking about. It does not mean just because you have that first pick that all of a sudden your team will be good.
Yeah. It could be a road to being good in the future, but
Yeah, well, and there's been plenty of quarterbacks that have been drafted first overall that have sucked ass and not really played longer than a year or two. So it's a gamble for sure.
definitely. Well, that's the halftime pour. So cheers, everyone. We'll take a little sip and we can move forward.
Hell yeah. Cheers.
All right. So speaking of the NFL draft, we have a special segment, 2025 NFL mock draft. So here's what we're going to do. We have a mock draft simulator that we're going to pull up. And basically, how it's going to work is Scott and I are going to go through and pretend like we are, the person making the pick for these teams. We're only going to go through the top 10 teams, though. Obviously, we could be here for hours if we were to do um, all the teams. So we're only going to do top 10 teams, and we're going to give you what we think they should pick with that pick based on kind of like their needs and, a couple other things. So let me pull up our mock draft. We're just using NFL.com, and we can also you can, if you're interested in this, you can pull this up on your own and kind of run your own mock draft. I think it's kind of fun to do. But we have the top 10 teams here, as you can see. And so, Scott, since you mentioned Tennessee, I will actually let you go first in this. You can select, if you want, you can select a team to trade your pick to. So that is an option. You don't have to do that, but that kind of gives you the initial if you want to do that right away, and then we'll go into selecting a player basically.
Okay. I'm probably not going to recommend lots of trades, although I hope that does happen. And I certainly think that it could with a few teams, especially with people like Shedeur Sanders out there. But I think number one is pretty set in stone, and I think that's going to be Cam Ward going to the Titans. He's already been talking about their players as if they're the best players in the league at their position. So I think that he knows that he's going to be a Titan, and I think that he will as well.
So you're taking Cam Ward with a number one pick?
I think so, and honestly, I do think he's the best quarterback for this year in this draft. There's an argument to be made that Dart might outshine him later in their careers. I think you would agree with me that Sanders is a bust, but let's see. I mean, maybe we'll have him drafted in the top 10.
I mean, he got his number retired recently, A little controversial. All right, so number 2 pick, I have the friendly Cleveland Browns, which is, there for a reason. But this one I've gone back and forth on, I'll be honest, because I do think the Browns have kind of a notorious history of not making the greatest picks, especially when they have high picks. But I do believe with this pick, they are going to unfortunately buy into the hype. And I think they are going to pick Travis Hunter at number 2. I don't think that is maybe the best pick, like, for them. I mean, obviously, I think they have some challenges on offense. Like, could they pick if Cam Ward, for whatever reason, does not go number 1, I do think the Browns will probably pick Cam Ward if I have to guess. That's in a scenario where he doesn't go number 1. If he goes number 1, though, I do believe they'll probably pick Travis Hunter, and so that's who I'm going to go with for them.
Yep, I agree. I think they'll pick Hunter. There's some talks about maybe Sanders. I just don't think they will. And I think that if anything, if they don't pick Hunter, they might trade out of that spot and try and gain more value later in the draft. That would be what I would recommend for them to do.
Yep.
Because like you, I don't think Hunter will be what he seems like he might be. And with him pretty much demanding to play both sides of the ball, I don't know that we'll ever see him 100% at either position. So that's my take here. I think if the Browns are smart, they'll avoid Hunter and Sanders, and they will trade back and get more value later on. God knows they can use value in multiple picks, so we'll see.
All right, New York Giants, you're on the clock.
Yeah, this is an interesting one here. I think, I've seen all kinds of stuff. Like maybe the Giants would trade back as well. Maybe the Giants would try and trade up. I've seen literally anything and everything about the New York Giants this year. I think the Giants will end up probably taking the safe route here and go with Abdul Carter. I think they're going to probably choose him to have that edge rusher and just solidify that defense a little bit, because that seems like more of a safe bet and more of a sure long-term investment into a player.
Yeah. So Abdul Carter?
Yep. Let's go with Abdul Carter.
All right. Number 4, Patriots. So if this was the Patriots of Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, I mean, they probably wouldn't have this pick, number 1, but maybe they would have a little different outlook. So kind of interesting. They have they hired Vrabel, right? He's their new head coach, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So, I think that they are maybe thinking, well, they have a quarterback who's young. They probably need to protect him, right? Like, their offensive line is not the best, and that's one of their needs. So I think they're probably going to be looking at a guy from a school near where you're from, Scott, Mizzou, by the name of Armand Membo. I think he's probably one of the top offensive linemen, if not the top offensive lineman that's available. So I believe that's maybe who they would go with this.
Okay, nice. I like that. That's different than what I had on my board, but I like that though. We'll see what happens. I think Membo, no matter what, will go top 10. Yeah. I think the argument might be that Will Campbell could go before him.
Yep.
but nothing's a guarantee in the NFL draft. So I like
Yep.
that.
I could see that as well. All right, Jacksonville Jaguars, you are on the clock.
Yeah. So with Jacksonville Jaguars, they need a lot of help. And I think they're going to go for a value pick here to try and get, like I said, with the Giants. I think they're going to go with value and safety. And so I think they're going to go with somebody who probably will not flop. Defensive lineman Mason Graham from Michigan.
Mason Graham going number 5, which is one of their needs. All right, I have the Raiders next on the clock. This one's interesting because did they trade for this pick? I'm trying to think. I mean, I know they were horrible.
I don't think so. I think this is just their pick.
Okay, so this is where they ended up. That's why I'm wondering, like, would they trade out of this or not? But, you know, the one thing I could see them doing, I could this one might be controversial, but I have to go with what I know that they need in this position. I think Genty goes to the Raiders here at 6. I know some people will disagree and they'll say he's going to drop further, but I don't know. I know the Raiders historically love to run the ball. They have Brock Bowers now. You know, that's a receiving option at tight end. But I think they go with Genty here. I think that's a smart pick. If not, maybe they pick a wide receiver, possibly. I don't know. It's kind of like, I just feel like they're like a run heavy offense. So I'm going to pick Genty there.
I'm with you on that. I think they go Genty. You got Pete Carroll there. He loves a nice running back.
Right.
And, Genty's coming off one of the best running back seasons of all time.
Yep.
And if they don't pick him, then I agree. I think they go wide receiver, but he's on my board as a Raider as well. And I know that breaks the heart of my buddy Zach, who was really hoping he falls to 10, but I'm not convinced Chicago even takes him at 10. So I think he's going to go 6.
Yep. All right. You have the Jets on the clock.
Okay. Well, on my board at number 7, I actually had Membo. So we're just going to flip what I had, and I'm going to put Will Campbell here. And I think they also need an offensive lineman here. Tackle, to be specific.
Campbell. What school is he from again?
He's towards the top. He's from LSU.
Oh, sorry. I must have scrolled past him. Oh, there you go. Tackle.
Yep.
Okay. So Jets go with a tackle. You don't think they'll pick anyone from the defense, having a defensive coordinator now as their head coach?
I think this is a big need for them. And again, I keep going back to this, but when you get these guys who are really good in the trenches, they are typically safer picks to have longer, successful careers. And so I think that that's what they're going to go with this year.
Did they ever get a new QB?
Justin Fields is their quarterback.
Fields. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So Will Campbell. All right. The North Carolina Panthers, your team out there.
Don't say my team.
Man, this one is interesting. You know, their QB situation got better, I think. It wasn't going well, but I feel like they have maybe, you know, some potential there now. So not that there's a really wonderful QB that they could select from here, but I mean, I could see them picking someone like a linebacker, maybe like a Jalen Walker here from Georgia, but I actually think one of their really bad needs is a wide receiver. They don't they have, what's his name? The guy that eats
Leggett?
Yeah, the guy that eats, what is he, like skunk or whatever? Have you ever seen that?
No, I don't think that I have.
Oh, I'll have to send you that. He literally eats skunks. Like he
hell?
hunts them and cooks them. I swear it's a thing. But I think they also need another weapon to help their offense out. So I think they're going to go with McMillan from Arizona. I think that guy's kind of freakish. He has some potential. He's a really athletic guy. So I think if they don't go defense, they go wide receiver, and that's who I'm going to be drafting.
Okay. Well, that puts me into a predicament here because I was going back and forth in my head about the Panthers and the Saints and choosing a wide receiver.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking maybe the Panthers go with like another edge rusher. We got a few of them that are in this draft that are good. Like Mike Green is still out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was looking at from Marshall.
Yep.
So that puts me in a predicament here because for number 9, then we're going to have to kind of get creative. I think as we look at who's left out there, if McMillan goes to the Panthers, I think that the Saints might pick up Walter Nolan then from Ole Miss. He's a defensive lineman. I think the Saints want an offensive weapon. I think they're looking at maybe trading up for Genty, maybe hoping he falls, maybe trying to get a wide receiver like McMillan at their pick.
Yeah.
But if they don't get Genty or McMillan, I think they go with a value. And the value says to go with the defensive lineman Walter Nolan then.
Okay. So you got Nolan. Oh, man. I have the honors of picking for the Bears, which I know that they would probably love if Genty falls here, and they could pick him up from some of the stuff I heard on, a couple podcasts back with Zach and Jordan. But, I mean, this draft class does not really have a ton of great running backs. So I don't know that they pick a running back if Genty's, Omarion Hampton's the other person from UNC that possibly, but does he go number 10? I don't know. I doubt it if I had to guess. So I think in that case, they may, honestly, if they were smart, I actually think, do you know who their tight end is right now?
What the hell is that guy's name?
I can't remember if they got a good tight end or not recently.
They have Cole Kmet. That's what I was trying to think of. He's okay.
Like Tyler Warren from Penn State, I think would actually be an interesting one for them to add to their offense to try to, beef it up. But I'm also like, do they go with, again, somebody on the defensive line? Do they go with like a Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M? Do they go with a Will Johnson from Michigan? Oh, I think based on who's been picked, actually, I'm going to give them the Mike Green. I think that they might pick defensive line here.
I think didn't we just choose Mike Green?
No, you picked Walter Nolan.
Oh, that's right. I was saying he would be like a second pick. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Mike Green is probably.
Oh, no. Go up. I think we picked him.
Where? No, you were saying he would be a good.
I'm tripping. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, you were saying he would be a good value pick, and that's why I actually think if he doesn't go, I think if they're going to draft a defensive player, they might go with a line, and so I'm going to give him Mike Green.
Yep. No, you're right. And here's the thing. One of the things I've been seeing about the Bears is that they've already made big moves for their offensive line this year, and they don't really consider offensive line a need any longer.
Yeah.
But their offensive line was so bad before that even though they've added like 3 nice picks, nice players, I've seen that they might go for an offensive tackle if they can't get Genty.
Yeah.
And so there's guys out there, I hate to even say the name, but like Josh Simmons from Ohio State is a name that I'm seeing floated around.
Yep.
Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears took an offensive tackle here, even though they might need a defensive player more.
Yeah. Yep.
The Bears pick is an anomaly to me.
Yeah.
There's so much that's contingent upon what happens beforehand,
right?
And then kind of what kind of identity they want to have as a team moving forward.
Yeah, it's like, are they going to try to, because they have a head coach who was an offensive coordinator, are they going to want to focus on that? Or does he realize like they have some gaps on defense and they need to focus there? But I just actually had it like do the rest of it. And I mean, the next pick would have been Tyler Warren, for San Francisco. So, I mean, you can kind of see like where it slotted some of the other players. Jalen Walker, linebacker, I know he's highly rated from Georgia. Kelvin Banks, I know you just mentioned. Mikael Williams from Georgia.
Yeah, and they had Banks going ahead of Simmons. They had Simmons up at 19. Look at 21. Let's talk about that one.
Yeah, the Steelers. Did the Steelers get a QB?
Mason Rudolph.
Well, I mean, then Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart might actually potentially make sense for them, as weird as that sounds.
What I think will happen is that they will choose Shedeur Sanders if he's still around at 21, because what else are you going to do? I mean,
yeah,
you can't have Mason Rudolph be your quarterback. But but what I will say, though, and I truly believe this, is that whoever does draft Jackson Dart in like the second, third round, whenever that is, they're getting a great value pick for the future. Not for the 2025 season, but maybe 26 or 27. I think he will be a great quarterback. And while we're talking about quarterbacks, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks have success that can be very mobile as well. And so, if I pull up the quarterback rankings for this draft, Jalen Milrow is actually third after Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. I don't think he gets talked about as much as Dart does,
Yeah.
but he could be another big piece for value for one of these teams as well in
Yep.
second or third round. So
Yeah.
I don't think Will Howard will pan out. I think I'd rather have Jackson Dart or Jason Milrow, but we got Will Howard, we got Riley Leonard from Notre Dame. There's a lot of QBs out there that could be picked. I just don't think this is a super strong quarterback class.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people have been sleeping, and obviously I have a bias, but I know people have been sleeping on Dylan Gabriel from Oregon. I think if it pans out, he might be somewhat similar to Kyler Murray. That's like the best example that I can give of a player that he could potentially play like. Like, he doesn't run maybe as much as Kyler, but he is very fast and he's like a smaller built QB. But I mean, people slept on Bo Nix last year, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
dude, he is really good. Like, he is super accurate, and they build that system the way they do on purpose. I also think he could be a very value pick later, if he falls to whatever, like fourth round, whatever, etc. I actually think he could be a pretty value pick, possibly for somebody that needs like a backup or someone that they want to groom, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
There are some big names out there that are just not going to be starter quality anytime soon. Like Quinn Ewers is out there. He was a big name for a while, kind
yeah.
of fell off this last year. Kyle McCord actually had a good year at Syracuse after being kind of dog water at Ohio State the year before.
Yep.
Brady Cook from Missouri, he's a great quarterback. He had a great year, but he's ranked 257th overall in the draft.
Yeah.
And still, he's way down there, but we could see that name again in the future. Just it's not going to be anytime soon.
One on here, which is kind of interesting. If this were to pan out the way that this has mocked up the rest, if the Texans are able to get Luther Burden that like 25, dude, imagine their wide receiver room, because that guy's kind of a freak, and just the people that they already have there.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It'd be a good addition, especially knowing that Tank Dell probably won't play this year, and if he does, he won't be back until late in the season. So
Yeah.
who knows? It could happen.
So we also just had a couple questions, I think, to ask based on our mock draft, and we can kind of go through these quickly here. But boom or bust, which of the projected top 10 picks do you think carries the greatest risk of being a bust, and who do you think is the biggest potential like next Hall of Famer?
I think the biggest bust could be Travis Hunter. I just think I worry he's biting off more than he can chew by demanding to play full time on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
This isn't college where you can be in a top 3 and 2 positions. Everyone you're playing against was in the top 3 of their one position. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the NFL these days. It's just a different caliber of competition where I think you have to really bite down and be good at one thing. So I think he's got the most likelihood of busting unless he changes his full philosophy. And then I think he has to stick to being a defensive player to be great. What was the other question? A potential Hall of Famer?
Yeah, like who's like a boom player out of that top 10?
I'm going to take a gamble here, and this is something that some people don't even know if this player is going to be in the top 10, but I'm going to say McMillan, the wide receiver.
He actually stole mine. That's what I was going to say. I think I agree with you on the Hunter, but I think the biggest bust is going to be Cam Ward.
Oh, okay.
That's going to be my bust player. I watched him play at Washington State. I've seen him play at Miami. I don't think it will be a athleticism and skill issue. I think it could be more of like an attitude and a discipline issue.
Yep.
As to why he has a potential bust. I think the biggest boom, man, I was going to pick McMillan, but I will say Abdul Carter. I actually think that guy he's a freak, and I just think that guy could definitely be like one of those top players within the next few years that you hear about.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick.
That would be mine. Next question, immediate impact. Who do you think will make the biggest impact that first year?
Well, I'm going to piggyback off of that. I think in the first year, the media impact usually goes to guys that play in the trenches or guys that are edge rushers. And I'm going to go with Abdul Carter. I think that he will be day one a great player on the NFL football field.
Mine's gonna be. It will all depend on if he goes top 10 and where he goes, but I think McMillan for me could have a really good rookie year. I know wide
Yep.
receivers are not historically always great in their rookie year, but I just feel like that guy is a freak. Like he's
Yeah. I
built
mean,
like
Brian
he's
Thomas Jr. last year was like third in his position or something like that in fantasy football. So
yeah. But that would be my pick for. And then the last question, surprise selection. So who do you think has the biggest opportunity to fall out of the top 10 out of some of the players we discussed?
I would say Ashton Genty. It's a weird thing. He's by and far the best running back in this draft class, at least on paper.
Yeah.
But it seems like people are more and more not willing to take as big of risks on running backs because they have shorter careers. They share the backfield with other running backs. So I think Ashton Genty, if anyone fell out of our top 10, it could be him. And I could see him going all the way to like, 12 or 13 even. So I don't think that will happen. I think he'll get drafted by the Raiders, but it wouldn't shock me if it did.
I was gonna say him, but I the only other person I would consider would maybe be McMillan because I could see him going like 10 through 15, maybe. Like if
Yeah.
he falls a little bit, he may not be top 10 or he may not be selected top 10, and he could just fall, I think, a little bit lower than
Yeah,
what we slated him possibly.
that's fair. I mean, I've seen a lot of debate about if he's a top 10 pick or not. I happen to believe that he is.
Yeah. All right, so that was our mock draft, and then building on that, now we have tiers list, which we're going to revisit. So you want to take this one away?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the screen here. And as I do that, I'll kind of share what we're going to be doing. But basically, in honor of the NFL rookie draft, we're going to revisit the draft from last year. Let me make this bigger. How do I? All these advertisements.
Yeah, that's like the one limit to this website. It sucks. Got to get like an ad blocker going.
That's a good strategy. How do I close this one?
I don't know.
Hold on a second. I'm going to stop sharing this. And then let me figure this out real quick.
No, you're good.
I don't want it to like pop up a bunch of websites or anything.
No, you're good. What we'll do too is for the mock draft simulator too, we can post a link to it. So we'll probably post it on X. I think that's the easiest one to access links. So yeah, I mean, if you're interested, we'll post a picture of what ours looked like. So the mock draft with our top 10 and then what it projected for the rest. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And if you're interested, try to fill it out yourself and shoot us a DM of what you came up with for your top 10 or your first round mock.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you take the honors. We're going to do this just like we have before, but this tier list is titled Re-Ranking the NFL 2024 Draft Skills Players. So think fantasy football players. I didn't want to try and go through all like the lineman, defensive players, everything. So this is only the skills players that we would think about like on our fantasy lineups. And it's the top 16 of them that were drafted. So re-ranking them, we're going to put them in the tiers that they belong in, which will all automatically kind of re-rank the order we think they should have been drafted in. And I'll let you take it away here with Brock Bowers being the first one that we revisit.
Well, this one's easy. I have to put him in S. I mean, the guy was a freak. He had a crazy rookie year, broke records. Like, he way outperformed where he was drafted. And I also stole him in fantasy football this year, which was awesome.
I just want to preface though, this is where we would draft them this year. So we're going to end up having an order here. Like if you could go back in time where you think they should be drafted. And only reason I bring that up is there are a lot of quarterbacks in this draft. But if you like him in S, that's okay.
Yeah, I out of the people that are here, I do like him in S right now.
Okay. Hell yeah. Well, the next is Brian Thomas Jr. And we'll just alternate here.
Okay.
Ooh. I think I'm going to. This is tough. I think he's the best. He's the best wide receiver in his class. But is he S tier worthy of drafting? Yes, I'm going to put him after Bowers.
Wow.
I know, probably a shock, but I like him there.
All right. Well, we'll have to continue down here and see if there's other controversies. But Caleb Williams is next.
Yes, he is. Where you got him?
Oh man. C.
I would have put him there too.
I almost said F, but I'll give him a tiny bit of leg room for now.
Okay. Keon Coleman, I'm going to put behind Caleb Williams at C. I think he has a lot of potential. I just don't think that he's lived up to it yet. So we'll see what he does this year. It could be a much better year for him. He ended the season better than he started it. So we'll see.
Drake May, I would put him in a B.
Okay, I
I
like
think
that.
he has potential. I think, honestly, their team's just not that great, and they need some help. So they could possibly turn it around. We'll see what happens.
Okay. You're going to hate this, potentially. But Jaden Daniels, he's my guy in this lineup. I'm going to put him first in the F tier.
No, I don't hate that at all. I would agree. Yeah.
Okay.
100% based on how he played. Yeah.
JJ McCarthy, that's a tough one.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, for now, I think I have to put him in B, I guess. I haven't really, I mean, I could put him in C, but I don't know anything about him other than college. So,
okay. So you want him after May?
For now, I'm just going to put him in the middle just because we haven't seen him in the NFL really.
Yep, that's fair.
So,
Ladd McConkey had a great year, especially in the later half of it. I don't think he's on the same caliber as some of these guys, but I think I'll throw him in. I think he's a low end A. It depends how many A's we have later on, but I think for now I'm comfortable with him being a low end A.
Yeah, I'd probably put him at like a B plus.
Yeah, I would put him maybe ahead of Drake May at B if I did that, but he's either like the end of A or the beginning of B.
Xavier Legette is next, right? Panthers.
Yes.
I think I'm looking at some of the other people on the list. I'd probably actually put him at like high C.
Really? Okay. Like ahead of Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I don't think he's bad. I don't know.
Who are you going to put at F? Because we have to put someone there.
Well, I know. That's why I'm like, do we move Caleb Williams to F?
I think my pick would be Leggett at F personally, but
okay, well, put him at F. I'm okay with that.
well, it's your pick, though.
I was already like questioning C. I was like, does he belong in C though? So if it's not him, it's Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
for me,
that's fair. All right, Malik Neighbors. That guy's a beast. He also broke some records this year. I don't want to overload our S tier, so I'm going to put him ahead of Ladd in A, which is kind of crazy to think that I'm putting him after Brian Thomas Jr.
So I was going to say, do you think Malik Neighbors is lower than Keon Coleman?
What do you mean? Keon Coleman I have down here at C.
Or no, not Keon Coleman.
Brian Thomas Jr.?
Yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. Sorry, I said the wrong name.
I didn't think that I would until he played hell of a season all year long on a really bad team. I mean, he was like third overall in wide receiver stats last year as a rookie. He had better stats than Malik Neighbors, even though I thought Malik Neighbors is a way better wide receiver than him. So it's hard to say. I mean, BTJ was like sneaky good last year.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think both of those are like close, right? Like they'd be very.
And it wouldn't surprise me if all of a sudden Malik Neighbors was like a superstar this year.
Yeah.
But to get 1 year removed, and I'm like, Brian Thomas Jr. kind of put that team on his back. He was the only thing that was good about that team last year.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he deserves a maybe higher than McConkey.
Wow. Okay.
You think he's lower or higher?
I think he's a B. He sucked. I mean, his stats were not good last year. But if that's where you want him, it's your pick.
I'm thinking more potential. Like he could have more of a breakout year this year too.
Yeah. Well, that's why he was drafted here high last year. because he
Yeah,
had
that's
potential.
true.
No,
Yeah.
it's fine. It's totally fine.
I mean, dude, that guy was a freak at Ohio State, though.
Oh, he
Like,
was, and I do think he'll turn it around. It just
yeah,
I was surprised at how poor of a season he had.
yeah. I mean, he also played for the Cardinals, you know.
You could say that about the Giants and the Panthers as well.
Yeah, yeah, I know. All right, who's next?
Bo Nix.
That's yours.
I like Bo Nix a lot. I think I dogged on him a lot. I did not. I thought he might be like the fourth best quarterback in his class, but I'm putting him at A plus right now because I
Hell
think
yeah.
he had a hell of a end to his season, and he looks like he has the stuff that it takes to have a long career in the NFL.
Let's go, Bo.
All right, you got Rome Odunze.
I actually thought he was going to be a lot better, but I also think he's in a bad situation with his team and his coaches and all that. So I'd probably put him at a C.
Yep, we're at on there.
Above Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I think so too. Here's the thing: I think that Odunze could be really good this year, if and Caleb could too, with the new offensive line, a new head coach that's very offensive minded.
Yeah,
they could have a big turnaround.
Yeah.
But I also say that about the Bears every single offseason. So I need to see it first.
Yep.
Ricky Pearsall is just so hard to say, man. I mean, the guy got shot and we didn't see him play very much. It is crazy that he got shot and played football still, like just a few months later. I think that he's a talented guy, but it's so hard to say where I would put him because we didn't get to see much football.
Yeah.
I think I would put him right there. Ahead of Caleb Williams, maybe behind Rome Odunze.
Yeah. I mean, we could have put JJ in the C too, to be fair. Like, I probably put him at a B minus because we didn't see him.
Yeah, that's valid.
Michael Penix Jr., we didn't really see a ton of him either, more towards the end of the year. I don't know. I'd maybe put him B, like in between May and McCarthy, because like he seemed like he was reasonable, but we didn't see a ton of him yet, so he's okay.
That's what I was thinking too. I like that spot.
Yeah.
Okay, and last one, Xavier Worthy.
Kind of surprised some people at the end.
I think that the way he played at the end of the year made him a solid B for me. What are your thoughts on that placement?
He was like a B plus for me in fantasy football. He carried my team a little bit in towards the playoff, but he was like streaky. He'd have like really good
year, right? Other than one game,
he would have really good games, and then he would have like terrible games, but he kind of like evened out more towards the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. So. I think I'm going to put him there only because May is a quarterback who also looked to be improved by the end of the year. And obviously when drafting, I think the quarterback position, when all other things are equal, always gets picked first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this overall list? I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably make a case for, like CNF. I mean, I'm sure some people would be upset with a few of those, but I mean, I think a lot of those guys didn't play that well, generally speaking, compared to where they were drafted. The B to me is kind of like the unknown. It's like he had, two quarterbacks one we saw none of, one we barely didn't see much, wide receiver that played well towards the end, and then a quarterback that like seemed like he could be better, if maybe this team gets better too. Then we have a lot of wide receivers in A. It's kind of like almost like they followed a little bit of a theme.
Yeah. I think the funny thing is when you look at this, Caleb Williams was the first overall pick, and we have him, third to last out of the top 16 skill players.
Yeah.
But that just goes to show you. And the other thing that's crazy is we have, quarterbacks like JJ and Michael Penix listed above him, who we didn't see much of. But like whenever the only thing we see of you is bad, then you revert. So
yeah,
that's why I think I'm okay with this.
Yep. Yeah. No. Listeners out there, let us know what you think. Do you think we screwed this up? Would you put people in different spots than what we did? And we'll also post a picture. So Scott, make sure you don't close out of it. So you can get a screenshot and we can post that for people afterwards on some of our social pages and they can let us know.
Hell yeah. All right. Hey, listen, we're not right 100% of the time, but we just do the best we can.
So we'll move into community callouts. Just a fun way for us to recognize some people in the community who have like followed, commented, etc. So a couple shout outs. I think I'll do YouTube if you want to do TikTok, and then I can do IG. So YouTube, just wanted to give a shout out to Answer the Call for your comments on the WrestleMania episode. Now you had a couple comments on there we appreciate. And then for our shorts on YouTube, Christopher Rawlings, I think you were also kind of going back and forth about some of the Rory stuff that we had posted. So we appreciate your comments. And then for TikTok, we have some new followers.
Yeah, some new followers. We just want to highlight Alicia Lindinger, Brittany Sponila. Sorry if I butchered that. Shaylee Brienne, Corianel, Leah, JT Sports, J Evans. Yeah, so thank you guys for the follows. We're trying to grow the following, so that means a lot.
And then Instagram new followers, Brats and Beers podcast, 3 Guys, 6 Balls NFL podcast, First and 30 pod, and then Matthew Weeks. Thank you all for your follows on Instagram. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, so, just keep engaging with us, guys. We're looking to build more content that you like and that you guys want to participate in. So if there's things you like, let us know. And if there's things you want that we're not doing, we are an open book to whatever we want to talk about, sports related or bourbon related.
Hell yeah. Well, let's move into single barrel picks, where we are mainly going to focus on one category this week, which is going to be NBA playoffs. But we got to visit our records, Scott, real quick.
Yeah. So current records of doing sports medley, I'm leading you just barely 15, 13, and 1. And you are 14, 14, and 1. So I got you just by one pick over the last several months here.
Which is kind of crazy because I think the last time we did the picks, I was 5-0. So I was down bad and then kind of made a run to kind of pick things up to get back into some, reasonable 500 level. So we're going to do NBA playoffs first round picks. So obviously we've seen a little bit of, who's leading these series. So there's clearly a little bit of bias that's happening, but we're just picking out who we think is going to win for that first round. So I'll let you go first, Scott. Who do you think is going to win between Cavs and Heat?
I'm going to go with Cavs here.
I got to go with the Cavs. I feel like that one's hard to pick against. Bucks and Pacers.
Yep. I already said Pacers earlier, so we're going to ride that out.
I also have to say Pacers. I know they're up 2-0, so kind of a bias there too.
For sure.
Knicks or Pistons? Tied at 1-1.
I'm going to piss some people off with this, but I'm going to go with the Knicks.
Knicks. I got to pick the Pistons. Got to go with the home team or hometown team. Celtics or Magic?
Celtics.
I'm also going with the Celtics. I feel like that one's no brainer. Western Conference, Oklahoma or the Thunder or the Grizzlies?
The Thunder. They won by 50 in the first game.
Yep, I have them as well. Rockets, Warriors?
Rockets. I know the Warriors won the first game, but I think Rockets take the series.
I also, unfortunately, have to agree with you because I think the Rockets are damn good. Lakers, Timberwolves?
Give me the Lakers, please.
I'm going to go with the Timberwolves.
Ooh, okay.
That's one I can disagree with you on.
Well, they do have a game 1 advantage, right?
And then lastly, Nuggets, Clippers.
This is a tough one. I'm going to go with Nuggets, but I could see that going either way.
I think the Clippers upset the Nuggets this time.
Okay.
So I'm going to pick against you. So that is our single barrel picks for the NBA playoffs first round pick. I think we'll do some hockey and probably revisit some playoff stuff too in the next few weeks.
Absolutely. Looking forward to all of that.
2-minute warning.
Hey, one of the best segments, in my opinion. We're going to get this timer up on the screen. Deep, tell them what the 2-minute warning is.
Yeah, so we pretty much just put each other on the hot seat. We'll go back and forth doing some rapid fire questions. I'm actually going to change us over to this view and just kind of ask each other some fun questions of, kind of would you rather type stuff to give you guys some entertainment.
All right, I'm going to let you ask the first question, and I'll tell you when the timer's starting. And it is starting now.
All right, first question. Babe Ruth plays today, or Shohei Ohtani plays in 1920?
Oh. I think all sports progress over time in talent and in just creativity. So I think it would be more shocking and more mind blowing to see Shohei Ohtani play in 1920.
Yeah, that would be nuts. But
Would
can you
you?
imagine playing Babe Ruth or seeing Babe Ruth now?
It would be amazing. Yeah, I'm not discrediting it. I think that would be so cool. But for you, would you rather have Eagle Rare for your championship toast or crack open a bottle of Weller?
Oh, you know what this is. It's a hard pick for me, but I love the Weller, and I named my dog after him, so I got to pick the Weller.
Absolutely.
Gatorade shower or bourbon barrel dump after a walk-off win?
Ooh, I love bourbon, but I think I'd rather do the Gatorade shower because of all the tradition and the fact that it might be cooled and not quite as burning in my eyes.
You probably stink a little after
Yeah,
the bourbon
well,
shower.
true. All right. What would you rather have? Barry Bonds with no PEDs or Pete Rose never getting banned from the MLB Hall of Fame?
Oh man, that one's tough, but I don't know. Barry Bonds being on steroids was kind of like an interesting thing, so I'd rather have Pete Rose not get banned. I feel like
Ah,
that
okay.
was kind of a sad story.
Yep.
But take a free throw to win the game, or take a shot of bourbon and hope the other team misses.
You know my form. I would take the shot of bourbon and hope the other team misses. And that's bad because, a lot of people make a lot of free throws. So that just tells you how bad I am at shooting. All right. Would you rather have Charles Rogers become a star or the Lions draft Aaron Donald back in 2014?
Oh, Aaron Donald every day, because that guy's a freak, and he would have probably done some damage on the Lions. And then last one: Kentucky football without bourbon, or Kentucky basketball without bourbon?
Um, Kentucky basketball without bourbon. Just historically, they're better at that sport at least.
That's fair.
That was
That
tough.
that was the 2-minute warning. So
I
we are. Go ahead.
I just want to say Barry Bonds before the PEDs was still an amazing baseball player. I don't He ruined his entire legacy whenever he was so damn good without all that.
That's true, but it was like kind of freakish to watch him, when he was on steroids, because everyone was in shock. Like, this dude just
Yep.
hits a home run every time he hits the ball.
Yeah, 100%.
Or Barry Bonds with a torpedo bat. How about that one?
Oh gosh. Yeah. 300 home runs per season.
All right, we're to the last call, which, just like at the bar when they kick you out, it's time for us to kick everyone out and say goodbye for the week. So, Scott, what you got for the last call?
Yeah, just I always start with a thank you. It really means a lot that we have people who follow us along in this journey, and we have been doing this long enough now, 20 episodes, that people are still hanging with us, and that means a whole lot. We are trying to grow slowly, and we are slowly growing. But if you have some people that you think might be interested in some or all of what we do, I do, encourage you to share our content. We're trying to hit the next level of audience here, but uh, I know we've done some very specific episodes recently. We are back to our roots for now. There will be special features always, but hopefully seeing kind of an all sports coverage again, it has been enlightening and helpful, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the conversation. And just want to say cheers to everyone who's been a part of this, because this is certainly a highlight of my week every week.
Hell yeah. I echoed the thank yous as well. Again, similarly, I think we love seeing people, in personal life and also just online, like people mentioning it, bringing it up. Hey, I saw the podcast, saw you saying this, etc. And then like the clips and all that stuff, I think are really fun too, to be able to share. But, if you've made it this far, I kind of want to give a couple of Easter eggs or maybe teasers. I know Scott and I have started some initial discussions about potentially looking at some merch. It's actually been something that people have brought, I think, at least to me. I don't know about you, Scott, but some people have actually asked about it. So I think we're going to look into it, kind of see if we can maybe do some simple things to start. And, if you're interested in that, or you think you like the logo, maybe we can try to create a couple things that are just kind of simple and affordable for people. And that'd be another way to support us. So, other than that, friends, cheers. Hope you all have a good rest of your week and weekend, and we will see you next week.